the podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
I truly hope we had someone there at Bill Snyder Family Stadium pulling that off this weekend. It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3. Thank you for joining us. Clint Scott, Dr. Mike Gustafson, Brennan Riker behind the glass, taking care of us. Hit us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Jive Turkey by the Ohio Players. Oh, so that's like a real one. There you go, Brennan. There's a cover for you. I have coined the term for what Tech fans feel when watching Tech struggle at the beginning of games. PTSD. That's pretty good. Yeah, so it's funny. K-State gave you the best first quarter shot anybody has all year. And it starts out, the offense looked, not sluggish still might apply. I mean, you had a drop in there. You had, I don't know if it was a bad read, missed blocking assignment, whatever it was, where you're going for it and you give it to them in great territory when they're already up 7-0. But really, your defense, you had the 46-yard touchdown, whatever it was, that started with Avery Johnson, and then you just put the clamps down on him. And offensively, in the second quarter, it's like you found your rhythm. And the biggest thing, Gus, the return of an effective run game. Yep. And I do think Baron Morton plays a part in that, because you have to respect what he can do with throwing the ball downfield, one, and then two, also just his maturity and knowing decision-making, whether that's checks or if you are doing any sort of option-type play, when to give it, things like that. And I thought that that's where Morton played a very mature game in his return, and it's exactly what the offense needed. And you have the unfortunate turnover to start the game where it's intercepted by a clubbed Austin Romaine, by the way, which was just also went into like, of course.
We call that a little tunnel screen, is that right?
Yeah.
Is that the right word for it?
And then outside of that, I mean, Baron Morton played a clean game and did what you needed him to. And then defensively, I just it's just got to be so frustrating to go up against your defensive unit.
Yeah, it's physical, and this team has been. We're obviously physical. We won the takeaway deal, which was a big part of what it felt like K-State was going to have to do, and they had a couple. We had 5, right? Mm-hmm. And so obviously took care of that side of it, but more punch-outs, more interceptions. But that group just continues to be so connected. Really good play from the front four. There was not much comfort in there for Avery Johnson, who did run around and create problems just as you thought he might. And then probably above all else, it's continued unbelievable season by most notably Rodriguez, but that whole linebacker
Send
crew.
him to New York, man.
Yeah, well, I want him to finish this thing, and finishing this thing this week will be a big part of that, because it maybe get more eyeballs than they've had all year. But he, I want Butkus Award and all that kind of stuff. New York would be fine, but then New York would be, obviously the preference there. But
I think people think
the key for New York is going to be winning out.
Sure,
you're not going to be a 2-loss team and then go, our linebacker had a good year. Like, no, but our linebacker needs to be getting the Butkus Award, needs to be consensus All-American, all that. But again, you can't play 8 good games and do that. That's going to have to. That's going to be. They need to play another good game, get this win, do the deal. When all those votes are cast, I don't know about I don't know about Butkus and those type things when they do it. Most of those things do that stuff postseason, like pre-playoffs, my understanding. Pre-playoff, pre-conference championship game, sorry. They may wait a week and include that in there. But, I just think he's having an unbelievable year. He was fantastic again the other day, but the next key to that is team success. Because you can't sit over here yelling about how great our linebacker was at 9-3, expecting him to punch into New York City or something like that. But go 11-1, and you're gonna have a shot. You're gonna have a nice case to make. I think, especially if you got the top ranked defense in the country or among the top ranked defenses in the country.
I think some people think it's a bit, and it's at this point it's really not. And I will say this: I think you have a great stage where if he has a great game, you could continue that conversation. Like you said, for some reason, if you had a meltdown defensively against BYU on College Game Day, and I'm not expecting this to happen, and it was just a horrible day, it was like, well, yeah, team success by default, we can go ahead and put that to bed because you're right. But he's having a Manti Te'o type season. Mm-hmm. He's causing more turnovers.
Right.
We'll see if he can catch them in tackles. But the other thing, too, is look how pedestrian the Heisman list is this year.
I know.
It is so vanilla. Like we can't, and it's not just Jacob Rodriguez. Like we can't talk about anybody that's in Defensive Player of the Year. We can't put any of those guys on a 15-name list. It's got to be all quarterbacks and Jeremiah Love. That's all we can do.
Right. No, I agree. I've had my beef with that award for a long time. The fact that we did what we did in 2008 and Graham Harrell can't even get a bleeping invitation.
Mm-hmm.
Can't even get an invitation up there.
Yeah.
2 years later, it's a slam dunk that Robert Griffin is the Heisman. Really? You want to go back and check the numbers on that?
Mm-hmm.
Was that Baylor team undefeated? No, that's right. They lost 3 games. But he looked really pretty beating OU that game. So, I mean, that award sucks. All right. We can move on. Next topic.
Which, by the way, I was thinking about this just over the weekend, was trying to process my thoughts from Monday, and one of the things that I was thinking about with that is like Jeremiah Love he's a really good back. Don't get me wrong, and I do think he's got a case as the best running back in the country, and he's throwing the Heisman after a touchdown against a not so impressive day for Notre Dame, even though they won. But how would you like to be Ashton Genty?
Oof.
Well, he's probably pretty happy because he's in the NFL and getting an NFL contract.
That's good.
But if there was any part of him that was still salty about a Heisman case, to be looking at like this year's lineup, going like, I would have cleaned house. No, there would have been no question about it. But yeah, it's not even if Jacob Rodriguez doesn't end up getting an invitation, then I'm going to be sitting just shocked or overly angry. But it's just like we can't even talk about defenders in it. Apparently, we can't even put them in the conversation.
No, I know. We have this conversation, and we could have had this conversation in 1986. We could have had this conversation in 2004. I mean, pick your year. Other than the rarest of exceptions, that's why the awards, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, for the defensive player to get it, we got to be some kind of two-way player or running back, insane kick returns and things like that, on top of being the best corner in the country. Well, which is all good, but just give me some Butkus Award, give me some consensus. Yeah. But again,
give me some All-American, give me all of the
if you're
awards.
Bothered, and we do have texters that'll check us and go, hey, you guys need to be focused on BYU. I get it, okay, that's fine. Mm-hmm. But if you're bothered by hype and attention and stuff like that, you might want to go dig a hole and camp in your backyard and turn off your phone or something. Because
speaking of camping,
you got game day on campus this week, and it's going to be noisy, man. And both teams are going to get to deal with this, but it's here, so we get to deal with it the most. So.
People already lined up for game day, by the way. Awesome.
Yes,
man, it's gonna be a fun week, dude.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Sugar, I need sugar. It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3. Oh, I forgot about that. That's it's not good short-term memory. DoubleTSportsNetwork.com and the Double T 97.3 mobile app, brought to you by Happy State Bank. Clint Scott, Dr. Mike Gustafson, the man who is always ready to clip anything said or sung, Brennan Riker.
Okay, I have a new project for you, Clint.
Okay.
We need Baby by Justin Bieber sung by the alien guy off of Men in Black.
I'll see what I can do. I'll see what AI can do. Keep hitting us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. We'll get some thoughts and comments from there now. You can join in as well as we go up to 6 o'clock. 2 more hours with us. This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Where will the game day set be located? I don't know for sure, but I would guess they're going to do it just like Big Noon Kickoff did. That makes the most sense to me.
Right there close to the stadium, a big old green space. That said, it's going to be fascinating because you don't see this very often from game day, that it rolls right into an 11 a.m. kick. And so, what we won't have are a bunch of students out there. Well, we can't have both. I guess if we divide the students up, hey, you guys go over there and do game day. I know there's a chance you might not get into the football stadium for this really packed full house game, but do game day. It's that part's tough. It's no fault of Texas Tech, by the way. So they, maybe there will be some accommodation to that. Like, after a certain amount of time, everybody goes in the stadium and the show itself moves into the stadium. I don't know what to expect.
It wouldn't be the first time that they've done that by any means, but
no. Because in Utah, it did move down there into the end zone for the last little bit of our game there. But and by the way, they used a different set for that Tech Utah game than they did for Utah the other day against Cincinnati. That was a far, they were over. I don't know where they were.
It wouldn't be the first time.
But it was not an 11 a.m. kickoff this past weekend.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time. But that being said, specifically for College Game Day, I still would be a little bit surprised if they did. And I think you'll have more than enough to have the split, and it won't be just like, whoa, where did everybody go? Like on TV when they're making their final picks and stuff.
But even me, I want to go over and see Game Day, but I'm like, I'm not going to miss that game in there. So
we know where it won't be. We know it won't be outside of the Fraser Alumni Pavilion, where the premier Game Day show will be on
That's
Saturday.
our territory, pal.
This is Optimum Game Day Live, pal. Keep stepping.
Get your own space.
Oh, man. This from Bob Kirby. Gus, since it's an 11 a.m. game this week, do you recommend that I take a power nap from like 4 a.m. to 6 a.m., or should I just stay up all night drinking?
I love day drinking because sometimes it leads to night drinking.
Well, it does get bright an hour earlier, right? So that'll
help. A number 47 quarterback. Who in the heck gets that number?
Kid named Bear. By the way, that's a 230-pound kid named Bear.
His last name's Bachmeier.
Yeah.
Well, that just don't set well here in West Texas. So defense, keep him sucking turf. I really like Bear Bachmeier.
I do too.
I kind of feel the same way about him that I do Brennan Sorsby. That I just like watching him play the position. Yep. He is a very tough kid. The biggest headline going into this week for BYU is what is LJ Martin's availability. He doesn't finish the Iowa State game. Kalani Sitake said today that he's not out, but they're gonna evaluate as the week goes on, which makes sense that they would want to. And that goes for linebacker Jack Kelly too, who by the way is a terrific linebacker. If either of those guys can't go, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
And I think they can make up for it more defensively without Jack Kelly than they can LJ Martin, because they've got other injuries with the running back spot too. Like the second running back has a compartment syndrome. They don't even know if he'll be back this season. Their third running back was dinged up against Iowa State as well. And so there's a real possibility that they're coming into Lubbock with the best defense in the conference with a fourth-string running back. And Bear Bachmeier is great in the running game himself, but there's a chance that you really could make them one-dimensional just from the availability of guys. You don't bank on that, and I think his top targets, I don't think they've gotten enough respect in the conference with Chase Roberts and Parker Kingston. They've both been outstanding combined for over 1,000 yards. Kingston can do other things too, especially as a punt returner. He's got a couple rushing touchdowns, but still, I mean, that's the conference's leading rusher, and I mean, without him and then a watered-down running back room, that is a huge arm tied behind your back.
Yeah, those dudes have been so good this year at finding ways to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt.
And it's really a strength of theirs that they just keep winning close games and, comebacks and in whatever way is necessary. But you're right. The injury situation feels like it's real. I don't expect it to be they'll be soft because they don't know. If you were wanting to get rid of one guy, it'd be Bear Bachmeier. I think. I mean, I'm gonna say get rid of him, but you know what I mean. Like I'll trade you all those other running backs for that guy because he's the motor. He's a problem.
And I think
and he's just a freshman, so you get to deal with him for a while.
We've talked about this all year long. We keep on waiting for him to have that true freshman game,
right?
And he hasn't. And this is where I would feel not so great if I was a BYU fan, because if you look at what this front has done when you've needed a quarterback to be Superman, the only one who's gotten the better of you is Sam Levitt, and even then, it's not like 26 points felt like somebody scored 45 points against you.
Yeah.
But I think, like what you said, they just keep finding ways to win, and that is an impressive trait that I think every team would like to have when you need it. So,
absolutely. It's served them well to this point, right?
Yeah, the number 47, though, I'm a fan of it. Oh, yeah, I like it at quarterback.
Especially since he's a good player.
Yes.
If he was the fourth-string quarterback, really?
Yeah, if he was like a novelty guy that's just in for two specific
47,
plays.
That's a linebacker, right?
Yeah.
And when you see him, you're kind of go, hey, he's kind of big like a linebacker.
Best Cougar is a Bear. It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
It is Tech Talk here on Double T 97.3, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the Double T 97.3 mobile app, brought to you by Happy State Bank. Clint, Gus, and Brennan keep hitting us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. We'll get a couple more thoughts from there in just a moment. But first, Mr. Riker, good old Brandon, he's got our play of the day.
Johnson with two backs back there. Going to take it himself. Come right side. He gets chipped. Oh, great job by Pollock. Pollock trips him by the ankles, and he loses yards, but back behind the 45. Red Raiders get the football. Turnover on down. And Bailey, two guys on him. Throw goes left side. It's caught by the other side. No, he dropped it because of the hit by Curry. Oakley had it in his hands. Curry pops him, and the ball comes loose. Turnover on downs again. First down, empty backfield. Johnson going to get caught from behind. He fumbled the football. Red Raiders scoop it and score. Touchdown, Red Raiders. John Curry. That will do it.
We've talked about the defense, and overall in the game they were incredible, but really in the fourth quarter they finally squeezed Kansas State and made the plays that they needed to down the stretch to ensure that you were able to close out and win that game. The two turnover on downs that were back-to-back, with in between offense giving the ball up on a fumble right after the first turnover on downs, forced the second one, and then the icing on the cake, the scoop and score fumble. I mean, what a day by the defense. It's just something that I don't know if fans just quite realize how incredible it is to have a defense like that is so disruptive and so well put together that we have not seen this, definitely in my lifetime. I don't think I've seen a defense like that from Texas Tech in my lifetime. And I know everyone wants to rah-rah about the offense. Well, they didn't play well, blah, 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 blah. Guess what? None of that matters when you have the best defense in the conference and one of the best in the country. You can have bad offensive days and still win games like that. Like, your defense is winning you games. Would you like the offense to be a little better? Sure. But I think the gripes with the offense are overshadowing just how phenomenal this defense is.
Well, all in all, I would argue at the end you had a good offensive day. Jacoby Williams certainly did. Caleb Douglas certainly did.
You outrushed Kansas State. You had 60, 70 more yards on the ground than Kansas State.
Now, are there still some things you're trying to clean up? Yes.
Will there
100%.
always be things you're trying to clean up?
Sure.
Yes.
But there are things you're trying to clean up that if you're dreaming a little dream, Gus, and let's say like hosting a playoff game against that sort of opponent, the things you're trying to clean up offensively, whether it's drops or I don't know, at this point, like pre-snap penalties are going to drive me nuts. You could lose a game that way.
Driving the skipper nuts.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. It's not just me. It's not just me.
Yep.
Like that. Those things are still things you're trying to clean up. But I think you took another step forward after a couple pretty down offensive weeks. And to what Brendan was talking about with the defense, hey, you want to know how you have a total unit? So, at first glance, it's like the linebackers far and away had the best day, right? Right? Well, then look at the amount of pressures you caused. Look from your defensive, I'm going to say defensive ends, like your edge rushers. I mean, even the fumble there is because Romello Height has a massive play. Your defensive front dominated. Okay, well, clearly the secondary is not in there. I don't know. Amir Boyd and Bryce Pollock, I thought they had their best 2 combined days in Manhattan. Both made plays. Bryce Pollock a part of 2 turnovers. Amir Boyd 100% should have had a forced fumble, but they call it an incompletion after the review. I think when you just look at Cole Wisniewski has some massive plays in that game from the safety spot. I mean, I think when you look at just that game to what Brennan is saying, you're the ultimate example of every single unit is so good on this defense. Has it always been perfect? No. But every single group just has studs there, and this is what we envisioned in the offseason was getting some of your homegrown guys that have been with the program for a while and then surrounding them with the best player from different teams defensively, whether it was from the FCS level or from a Georgia Tech or a Stanford. And it's easier said than done even to have studs and to put money into the program and into a roster. It's easier said than done to find chemistry and get that unit to come together and play as a cohesive group. And this defense has done that. And it's really wild that you've gone the entire season, at least defensively, with very, very, very minimal hitches.
Yeah, Joey talked again today about the football team. About the leadership of the group and how a lot of years you may go into one room and they're looking for, you may be in I'm making the example here. It's my words, not his. Every room has a leader, as opposed to a lot of years where you go in the DB room and you're like, yeah, they're turning to leadership from the linebacker group or something, or vice versa. This year's group has some veteran leadership, just everything everyone keeping everyone on track in each room. He even talked about Howard Sampson stepping in next to Sheridan Wilson. Which that would have been a little bit of, I would have guessed Sheridan Wilson if you said who's leading that O-line, but he threw in Sampson and said he's been pretty vocal lately. Just some of that kind of stuff. And I mean, it probably all hinges on Rodriguez and Baron Morton. Probably starts with those two.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, sure.
Yeah, but it's a blessing, man. And the just amount of QB pressure and the fact that this is one of the nation's best defenses against the run, and that's a lot. I'm sure every day Rodriguez and Roberts and even John to an extent, John Curry to an extent, man, I appreciate you gobbling up all those double teams.
Yeah, sure.
Appreciate you getting all those chip blocks and all the other things that have to happen. Now, all of that said, this this BYU club, big, physical, big.
Yeah.
And so this does start to feel like what December football looks like. And it's not out of the question. I guess it's probably easier to say it this way. If the Red Raiders win this game, BYU still has some meat on the bone on their schedule. But it wouldn't be out of the question to see a rematch in Arlington. Some scenarios could still play out for that to happen.
At this point, I mean, I think that would be the leading expectation.
Yep.
And a big part of that is because Cincinnati drops that game. Didn't just drop. They got pounded. How about if you're Utah, like you have 2 losses, right? You need a lot of help to get into Arlington. And yet you're sitting just outside of the games that you've lost. They are destroying people.
Yeah.
And this is what makes your win more and more impressive, but also what makes, I don't care if it was at home or on the road, what makes that BYU win more and more impressive, having a 10-point lead late and then just making sure you hang on to it, because Utah has just, they haven't been overly dynamic. They've just bullied people offensively, except for you and BYU.
Right.
And I think BYU coming into what you're saying, I think there is a lot of similarities with how they approached the game to how Utah approaches the game.
Agree. That's what was so fun about watching that game 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
They were getting after it. Physical, heavy.
It's every Red Raiders' favorite podcast. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
That's right, Clint Scott, Long Skid, Brendan Riker behind the glass taking care of us.
Brandon.
Sorry, Brandon. It's a Viking Long Skid Brandon edition of Tech Talk. We have Lady
That
Raider.
sounds like a horrible podcast some college kids from the Northeast came up with.
They just rate like Dorito flavors 100%.
And Pringles.
New Taco Bell menu items. That actually sounds fun. We should do that. Stay tuned to DoubleTSportsNetwork.com for the newest Raymar podcast.
Featuring Viking, Longskid, and Brandon.
Titled A Different Flavor. Yeah. Gus seems all the way in. Lady Raider basketball starts their season tonight, Gus. North Carolina A&T, 5:30, 93-7, the Eagle. You can hear it there. It is a home game, so, that is if you're not able to go out and go see them in person.
Yeah, excited for that.
Yeah, and then the men's team tomorrow, Lindenwood, 6 o'clock, Double T 97.3, 100.7, the score. Let me ask you this, and we'll get back to some more football thoughts here. What's your baseline expectation for Red Raider men's basketball?
Ooh, second weekend. Hoping for much more than that, but I would. I mean, just sitting here right now, they're ranked in what, 10th? Isn't that right? No,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the.
And what, 10th in the AP, 11th in the coaches?
Okay, so kind of want them to be in the top 16, right? Anything
Mm-hmm.
less than the top 16 would be a little bit of a miss. And again, you could ravaged by injuries and that can change all of that conversation. But just sitting here right now, like baseline thing would be second weekend.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that's the easy way to say it. Like if you want to break it down for me further, people for some reason, I think last year when we talked about it this way anyways, almost got mad when I viewed it this way. It was like the Big 12 is so good. I think you're going to have a shot to compete to win it, but top five in the Big 12. And I don't think that there's going to be – I think this year's version of the Big 12, if you're anywhere 1 through 5, you're going to have a great seed in the tournament. And I think that the top end of the conference –
1 through 5 in the Big 12 standings.
1 through 5 in the Big 12 standings.
Okay. You may have said that. I misunderstood you. Okay. Got it.
Yeah, if I said that wrong, sorry. Yeah, 1 through 5 in the
Yep.
Big 12 standings. And I think the top end of the conference this year, in my opinion, is going to be as good as it has been in a 5-year window, which you've had some national championships in there. And last year, it got viewed as down, which I thought was odd, because in the end, you have just as much, if not more, tournament success with the conference than you've had in years past. And it's like, well, the SEC is overtaken for the best conference, and I think they're going to be really, really good. But I think the top end of your conference is going to take that title back, and it's going to be pretty clear this year.
That'd be fine.
You're also going to have a bunch of first rounders in the conference.
That's
this
what
year.
I was about to say. I mean, the fact that you've got Houston at the very top, and then I guess either Tech at 2 and BYU at 3, or BYU at 2 and Tech at 3, depending on which poll you're looking at on the preseason pick type stuff. That's you got Toppin showing up as a mock draft guy. We know about BYU possibly having the number 1 or number 2 player in the conference. You get down there
because Kansas might have the number 1 or number 2.
You get down there into Kansas, and nobody's comfortable with the idea of Kansas. Just put them down there in the 4 or 5 hole, whatever. I mean, just given their past. I mean, that probably a lot of folks that would enjoy that. Don't get me wrong, but just that's how it's just crazy to see them not right there at the very top. And we all know how good they're going to be. And again, we're talking about if the BYU guy is not the first one taken in the draft, it's going to be the Kansas guy. Both true freshmen.
Unless it's Cameron Boozer. But even then, this might be the tightest 1 through 3 where it's like lock guys. They would be lock number 1 picks in any other draft that we've seen. And still, to have 2 of them in the conference. And then, like, you're looking at also – there's also Koa Pete as a freshman over at Arizona. He's pretty good. He's probably going to be a lottery pick type of guy. And then you have a bunch of vets mixed in. And I also think, like,
we haven't
suddenly
mentioned the Houston word yet either.
Yeah, well,
and I haven't. That's just a given how good they are.
Yeah, you had Kelvin Sampson at Big 12 Media Days still trying to be like, no, like, look, I know we've dominated the past couple of years. I know we just had a national championship appearance, but it's still, the league still runs through Kansas. And I was like, no, sir, it does not. It runs through Houston. It runs through that roster you keep building over there, and brought some guys back, by the way.
Appreciate the respect you're showing.
But it's the other thing is we haven't really talked about this year is, like, it feels like a lot of people are writing off Baylor because of the turnover. I'm going to break something to some people. Scott Drew is used to this. They'll be just fine.
Yep.
Iowa State, they did pretty well. Well, I say did pretty well. They were voted on just fine for, like, the media poll and stuff like that, but nobody is talking about Iowa State this year, and they bring back a lot of really nice pieces. And then you also have other wild cards, like I'm not saying competing, but what does this regime look like for Oklahoma State as far as taking steps? What does a West Virginia do that's supposed to be a bottom 5 team that's got a North Texas coach with some North Texas guys coming over that did just fine? How do they compete in the Big 12? Like, how do they cause chaos is what I'm saying. And then you also have questions around, like, Cincinnati and Kansas State, which could very well beat anybody any given night, but also probably lose to anybody in the conference any given night. So I think we're in for an excellent high end of the conference, like 1 through whoever ends up 1 through 6, 1 through 7, and then just as chaotic of a Big 12 the rest of the way in the standings as what we've seen and grown accustomed to.
I agree, and I mean I'm with you on all of that. I mean the number of ranked opponents, the ranked games that we're going to have, we know about how really tough. There were folks taking shots. I don't know, within the camp. Maybe we'll go back and dig through texts from 2 years ago about it as a schedule soft, whatever. Good Lord,
yeah,
have to go.
This is the schedule for you.
Yeah, and he said he was going to do that. He said, I'm going to get the schedule fixed. The A&M deal last year, them flipping over to the NIL game in Vegas kind of flipped some things around. But, yeah, I mean, here in another week, we're going to be talking about a game in Champaign, Illinois.
Yeah.
They're pretty good.
Top 25 matchup.
Yes.
How about that?
The podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the Double T 97.3 mobile app, brought to you by Happy State Bank. Clint, Gus, and Brennan, one more hour, I should say, as we go up to 6 o'clock. That time, Monday Night Football, Dallas and Arizona squaring off. Let's go back to the Yates Flooring Center chat line. You can hit us up there as well. I want Taylor Beatles to pick our score this week. I was having fun with Beatles.
Okay.
He had picked He talked all of the good things about what the Red Raiders had done and how much he liked the matchup. And then at the very end, I tried to work on him for our 2.5 hours for Optimum Game Day Live, gave a losing score, but was having fun texting with him back and forth. No one was more happy that he was wrong than himself. And to be fair, I was drastically wrong the week of Arizona State. So there we go. It all evens out there. We're all wrong some of the times.
That game opening at a 10.5-point spread surprised me a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and I think part of it, I think someone had said, okay, what do they know that we don't? And I think for the most part, I don't know how many knew the severity, because not even like the BYU media knew the severity of LJ Martin, and it just continues to be a mystery. We got a little bit of the mystery cleared up today with, again, Kalani Sitake saying that neither he or Kelly, the linebacker, are officially out, but still it doesn't look great. And now for BYU fans, they're playing the game of, okay, even if he can go, how healthy will he be? Will it hinder him in any way? But at the end of the day, BYU clearly would like to have any version of LJ Martin to go than not in the lineup.
That's tough with a banged up shoulder, man. You don't get to work around that. We'll put a cast on it. It'll be, just try not to use that. You don't get to do that with the shoulder.
Yeah. Because he was like in a sling on the sideline in the second half of Iowa State.
Yep.
No. Which makes it even more impressive that they came back without one of their top guys, by the way.
I think part of it, too, is that just in terms – we probably shouldn't underestimate this. And, again, there's probably computers making their point spreads and a lot of variables going into it. But one of the things that means a lot, I think, in those metrics type scenarios is just margin of win.
Yeah, sure.
How many times we've beaten people by double digits and how many times they've won games by 4 points. And again, all counts wins, don't get me wrong. That's for the computers and the point spreads and all that kind of stuff. But, they haven't just buried people and run away from people the way we have. And, but they've had a lot of things go their way to get to this point in the season. And, that there could be a little bit of some of that in there sprinkled in. Probably the quality of our defense is probably something that factors into that. And that 10.5 could become 8.5. Who knows? Injury news may move that a little bit as we go along. But I mean, when you hear the Nick Sabans and people like that make picks and gush about our team, most of it is, they're leading with the defense.
Mm-hmm.
They're leading with the defense, and that's fine. We again said it all summer. We're going to try to win around here in a different way. Everybody buckle up. Meaning that we around here are conditioned to we can outscore these guys, right? I mean, 52, 45, that kind of thing. No. If the offense has a little sputter in there, it's going to be okay. The defense is going to do this, and we're just not used to operating like that. But my goodness, that 10 still surprised me. 10.5 surprised me.
You know what? Like a point that you said in there is, on one hand, it's impressive that BYU has either come back or, like in Colorado, maybe survived a game. Like the best that they've looked overall was that home win against Utah, and it's not just that they beat, a really good Utah team, but it's that they didn't have to come back to do it, right? They were down by 10 in the fourth quarter to Arizona. That game would keep me up at night if I was Brent Brennan, because that could have been a huge statement. And I do think Arizona's clearly better than what they were last year, but that could have been a huge statement win, but they let it slip away. Iowa State is just looking for any sort of momentum, which Arizona State last week, by the way, didn't help that case either. A Jeff Sims-led Arizona State team, by the way. But Iowa State had BYU in a hole early.
Yep.
And so on one hand, it's like you give them credit 100% for finding ways to win. That is a tough-minded mentality for a physically tough, on top of it, BYU team. Tough offense, tough defense. That's kind of the MO for a Satake-led team, right? But on the other hand, they have lived dangerously in a lot of matchups. And this BYU team honestly reminds me, which shouldn't be too shocking because they have a lot of players back, but it reminds me of BYU of last year, right? When they eventually go 9-0, it's not like they were blowing everybody out. And this is, by the way, a 3-point win against Oklahoma State on that run. A 1-point win against Utah. I don't know if you remember how last year's season went, but neither of those teams are very good, Gus.
Yep.
And, even a close game against Baylor before Baylor took off and had that great run at the end of the season. So they have a lot of similar qualities. The one thing that I would argue about what's better with this BYU team, I think the quarterback play is more dangerous and has a higher end with a younger quarterback compared to Jake Retzlaff last year.
Absolutely. And, certainly when you think about the future for this dude, because this is a big physical kid who can sling it, and you would think that all his knowledge of the game and everything's just going to get better as we go. But
and it has gotten better throughout the season.
Absolutely. And he can make all the throws, and I mean he's the talk of the town in a sense for a lot of reasons. The 47, the name Bear, a lot of that stuff allows him to stick in your mind, but then you go watch it and it's like, man, this cat's for real.
Mm-hmm.
And 230 pounds. So when he takes off running that QB lead, we're not talking about some plodding quarterback.
Yeah.
Now we're not talking about Avery Johnson burst either, but this guy's hurt people with his legs and he's tough. And so just, him carrying it 16, 18 times and getting hammered and getting up and coming back to the huddle, absolutely plan on that.
I'm sticking with there's a lot of similar qualities to him and Sorsby, especially what Sorsby was early on in his career. Thanks for the heads up a couple of weeks ago. Was able to get a basketball signed by Toppin and Petty at the Overton. Everyone looked at me like I was crazy until they showed up, and then I was Nostradamus. Well, awesome. You'll see them in action tomorrow.
This has been the Tech Talk Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.